Over the past 5 years, Texas built its reputation on a single promise: no state income tax, endless opportunity, and the freedom to keep more of what you earn. Millions believed it. They packed up their lives in California, New York, Illinois, and headed south, chasing that dream of financial relief and wide-open futures. But by 2026, that dream is starting to crack. The hidden cost nobody warned them about has come roaring to the surface: property taxes. And they're not just high, they're devastating. Homeowners across the state are watching their tax bills climb by thousands of dollars every single year with no end in sight. What was sold as affordable living has turned into a financial trap for countless families. Some are downsizing, others are packing up entirely, leaving the very state they thought would save them. If you want to understand how property taxes are reshaping the future of housing, hit that subscribe button right now, because what's unfolding across Texas in 2026 is a warning the entire country needs to hear. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Texas cities where property taxes have become so crushing that residents are fleeing in mass numbers. Stick around for number 1, because what's happening there is nothing short of a financial earthquake. Let's get into it. Number 10, Pflugerville. Just outside Austin, Pflugerville spent the last decade marketing itself as the perfect suburban alternative. Affordable homes, solid schools, quick access to downtown Austin, and a family-friendly vibe that attracted young professionals and growing households by the thousands. From 2015 to 2023, the population surged. New subdivisions appeared almost overnight. Strip malls, parks, playgrounds, everything seemed to point towards sustainable growth. But by 2026, the shine has completely worn off. Property taxes in Pflugerville have become a nightmare. The average homeowner is now paying close to $8,000 a year, and for many, that number has doubled in less than 5 years. Appraisals keep climbing relentlessly, even as the housing market cools and home values plateau. Families who bought modest 3-bedroom houses for $280,000 back in 2020 are now being taxed as if those homes are worth $450,000 or more. The bill doesn't match reality, but it comes due every year regardless. Number 9, Frisco. Frisco used to be the crown jewel of North Texas suburbia. Pristine neighborhoods, top-rated schools, massive shopping centers, professional sports venues. It had everything. For years, it was the destination for families climbing the economic ladder, the kind of place where success felt visible in every manicured lawn and every luxury SUV parked in the driveway. But by 2026, that glossy image is being undercut by a harsh reality. Property taxes in Frisco have become borderline predatory. The average homeowner is now paying upwards of $10,000 annually, and in some of the newer master-planned communities, that figure is closer to $14,000. Appraisals have skyrocketed, fueled by years of rapid development and sky-high home prices during the pandemic boom. But now that the market has cooled, homeowners are stuck paying taxes on inflated valuations that no longer reflect what their homes could actually sell for. The financial strain is real. Families who thought they were set for life are suddenly doing the math and realizing they can't keep up. Retirees on fixed incomes are being pushed out of homes they've owned for decades. Young professionals who stretched to buy their first house are now second-guessing whether they can afford to stay. Number 8, Round Rock. Round Rock rode the coattails of Austin's explosive growth for years, positioning itself as the affordable alternative for people who wanted proximity to the capital without paying capital prices. Tech workers, young families, and remote employees flooded in, drawn by newer homes, decent schools, and a cost of living that felt manageable compared to Austin proper. But by 2026, that advantage has completely evaporated. Property taxes in Round Rock have surged to levels that are forcing longtime residents and newcomers alike to reconsider their choices. The average tax bill now hovers around $7,500 annually, and for anyone living in one of the sprawling new developments on the city's outskirts, it's significantly higher. Appraisals have been climbing at double-digit rates year after year, leaving homeowners with bills that increase faster than their salaries ever could. The problem isn't just the amount, it's the unpredictability. Families budget for a certain tax payment, only to get blindsided by an appraisal that jumps $40,000 or $60,000 in a single year. Appeals take time, cost money, and rarely result in meaningful reductions. So people just pay, or they leave, and increasingly, they're choosing to leave. Number 7. McKinney. McKinney built its identity on charm and community. Historic downtown, tree-lined streets, annual festivals. It felt like the kind of place where people didn't just live, they belonged. For years, it attracted families looking for a slower pace without sacrificing access to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. But by 2026, that small-town charm is being overshadowed by a big city problem: crushing property taxes. Homeowners in McKinney are now paying an average of $9,000 per year, and in some of the newer neighborhoods on the eastern edge of the city, bills are topping $12,000. Appraisals have climbed relentlessly, driven by rapid development and an influx of buyers during the pandemic. But now that growth has stalled, homeowners are left holding tax bills that don't align with current market values. The financial strain is forcing difficult decisions. Retirees who plan to age in place are selling and moving to states with lower tax burdens. Young families who scrape together a down payment are realizing they can't afford both the mortgage and the taxes. And longtime residents who watched McKinney transform from a quiet town into a sprawling suburb are being priced out of the very community they helped build. Number 6. Georgetown. Georgetown, just north of Austin, was the retirement dream for thousands of Texans. Rolling hills, a charming square, proximity to Lake Georgetown, it felt like the perfect place to enjoy your golden years without the chaos of a major city. Retirees flooded in, drawn by the promise of peace, community, and reasonable living costs. But by 2026, that promise has turned into a financial nightmare. Property taxes in Georgetown have become unsustainable, particularly for people on fixed incomes. The average homeowner is paying close to $8,500 annually, and for many retirees that represents a significant chunk of their yearly budget. Appraisals have climbed steadily, fueled by years of population growth and rising home values. But unlike younger homeowners who might have the flexibility to increase their income, retirees are stuck. Social Security doesn't grow fast enough to keep up with tax hikes, and pensions, if they exist at all, are fixed. The result is a quiet crisis. People who spent decades working and saving, who carefully planned their retirement, are now being forced to sell homes they love simply because they can't afford the tax bill. Some are downsizing within Georgetown, moving to smaller homes or condos. Others are leaving Texas entirely, relocating to states like Florida or Tennessee, where property taxes are lower and retiree-friendly policies actually exist. The emotional toll is significant. These aren't just houses being sold, they're homes filled with memories, communities built over years, friendships that don't transfer easily to a new zip code. But when the math doesn't work, sentiment doesn't matter. And for a growing number of Georgetown residents, the math stopped working a long time ago. Local officials have been slow to respond. There are exemptions for seniors, but they're modest and don't come close to offsetting the overall increases. Appeals are possible, but they require time, effort, and often professional help, which costs money many retirees don't have. So they either pay, struggle, or leave, and increasingly, they're choosing to leave. The impact is reshaping the city's identity. Georgetown marketed itself as a retiree haven, but that demographic is shrinking. Younger families are moving in, but they're facing the same tax pressures, and many of them aren't sticking around long enough to establish roots. The result is a community in flux, less stable and cohesive than it used to be. Small businesses that catered to retirees, boutique shops, cafes, golf clubs are feeling the pinch too. Their customer base is literally moving away, and new residents aren't filling the gap. Some businesses are closing, others are pivoting, trying to attract a different demographic. But the charm that made Georgetown special is fading, replaced by a generic suburban sprawl that could be anywhere. By 2026, Georgetown's story is one of broken promises. The city that was supposed to be a peaceful retirement destination has become another casualty of Texas's property tax crisis. And the retirees who built their dreams there are waking up to a reality they never anticipated. Number 5. Leander. Leander exploded in popularity over the last decade, marketed as the ultimate blend of affordability and access. Situated northwest of Austin, it offered newer homes at prices that felt reasonable compared to the capital's skyrocketing market. Families moved in by the thousands, filling subdivisions as fast as developers could build them. But by 2026, the affordability that defined Leander has vanished, crushed under the weight of property taxes that have spiraled out of control. The average homeowner in Leander is now paying around $7,800 per year in property taxes, and in many of the newer communities, that number is well over $9,000. Appraisals have climbed year after year, often outpacing actual market values. Families who bought homes for $320,000 in 2021 are now being taxed as if those properties are worth $480,000, even though comparable homes are struggling to sell for $400,000. The disconnect between appraised value and market reality is creating a financial squeeze that's forcing people out. The problem is compounded by Leander's rapid growth. The city approved massive development projects, expanding schools, roads, and public services to accommodate the influx of new residents. But all of that infrastructure costs money, and in Texas, property owners foot the bill. Now that growth has slowed and the housing market has cooled, the tax burden is falling on fewer shoulders, making the load even heavier for those who remain. Families are doing the math and realizing they can't keep up. Mortgage payments were manageable, but when you add $800 a month in property taxes on top of insurance, utilities, and basic living expenses, the budget breaks. Some are downsizing, moving to smaller homes in cheaper areas. Others are leaving the Austin metro entirely, heading to cities like San Antonio or even out of state. And for every family that leaves, the community loses a little more of its cohesion. Schools that were overcrowded just a few years ago are now seeing declining enrollment. Local businesses that depended on steady population growth are struggling to stay afloat. The optimism that once defined Leander has been replaced by uncertainty and frustration. Renters in Leander are suffering too. Landlords hit with massive tax increases aren't absorbing the cost, they're passing it on. Rents that were $1,500 a month in 2022 are now pushing $2,100, and for many tenants, that's simply unsustainable. They're moving to cheaper suburbs, doubling up with roommates, or leaving the area altogether. The result is a rental market that's simultaneously expensive and unstable, with high turnover and little long-term commitment from tenants. Number 4. Allen. Allen built its reputation as one of the best places to raise a family in Texas. Top-tier schools, safe neighborhoods, excellent parks and rec programs, it checked every box for upwardly mobile families looking for stability and quality of life. For years, people moved to Allen knowing they'd pay a premium, but believing it was worth it. By 2026, that calculation has changed. Property taxes in Allen have reached levels that are pushing even high-income families to their breaking point. The average homeowner is paying close to $11,000 per year, and in some of the more upscale neighborhoods, annual bills are exceeding $15,000. Appraisals have climbed relentlessly, driven by years of strong demand and rising home prices. But now that the market has cooled, homeowners are stuck with tax obligations that no longer match the value of their properties. The financial pressure is real and widespread. Families who could comfortably afford their mortgage 5 years ago are now struggling to cover the combined cost of housing. Dual-income households are cutting back on vacations, delaying retirement savings, and stretching their budgets just to stay in a city they once loved. And for single-income families or those hit by job loss or medical expenses, the situation is untenable. They're selling and leaving, often with regret, but no other option. Retirees in Allen are facing an especially brutal reality. Many bought homes decades ago, paid off their mortgages, and planned to live out their years in a community they helped build. But property taxes don't stop when the mortgage does. And for retirees on fixed incomes, an $11,000 annual tax bill is devastating. Some are downsizing within Allen, but even smaller homes come with tax burdens that are hard to manage. Others are leaving Texas entirely, moving to states where their retirement dollars stretch further and property taxes don't consume their savings. The city's excellent schools, once its biggest selling point, are becoming a financial albatross. Funding those schools requires money, and in Texas, that money comes from property taxes. Allen's residents are effectively paying some of the highest education-related taxes in the state, and while the schools are good, many families are starting to question whether they're $11,000 a year good, especially when nearby districts offer comparable quality at significantly lower tax rates. Small businesses in Allen are struggling too. Commercial property taxes have spiked, forcing local retailers, gyms, and restaurants to either raise prices or close their doors. The retail centers that used to buzz with activity now have vacancies that sit unfilled for months. The sense of vibrancy that made Allen feel alive is fading, replaced by a quieter, more uncertain atmosphere. By 2026, Allen is experiencing an identity crisis. The city that prided itself on being worth the premium is losing residents who no longer see the value. Homes are sitting on the market longer, prices are softening, and the families who built Allen into what it is today are walking away, searching for places where quality of life doesn't come with a tax bill that feels like punishment. Allen's fall from grace isn't dramatic. It's a slow erosion. But the impact is undeniable, and the city that once symbolized suburban success is now a stark reminder that even the best schools and safest streets can't compete with financial reality. Number 3. Cedar Park. Cedar Park, just northwest of Austin, spent years riding the wave of the capital's tech boom. Positioned as an affordable alternative for people who wanted access to Austin's job market, without Austin's price tag, it became a magnet for young professionals and growing families. New neighborhoods sprouted across the landscape. Shopping centers, restaurants, and entertainment venues followed. For a while, Cedar Park felt like the future of suburban Texas. But by 2026, that future has turned dark. Property taxes in Cedar Park have become a crushing burden that's driving residents away in alarming numbers. The average homeowner is now paying around $9,200 per year, and in some of the newer master-planned communities, the figure is closer to $11,500. Appraisals have climbed at a pace that feels almost punitive, increasing by 20%, 30%, sometimes even 40% in a single year. Homeowners are appealing, but the process is slow, expensive, and rarely results in significant relief. So they're left with two choices: pay or leave. And a growing number are choosing to leave. The financial strain is affecting every demographic. Young professionals who move to Cedar Park for affordability are now paying nearly as much as they would in Austin, but without the career opportunities or cultural amenities. Families who stretch to buy their first home are realizing they can't afford both the mortgage and the taxes, especially as childcare costs, insurance, and everyday expenses continue to climb. And retirees who hope to downsize in Cedar Park are finding that even smaller homes come with tax bills that devour their fixed incomes. The city's rapid growth is a major part of the problem. Cedar Park approved development after development, expanding infrastructure and services to keep pace. But all of that growth requires funding. And in Texas, that funding comes directly from property owners. Now that the growth has slowed and the housing market has cooled, the tax burden is falling on a shrinking base of residents, making the load even heavier for those who remain. Renters aren't escaping the pressure either. Landlords facing steep tax hikes are passing the cost straight through to tenants. Rents that were $1,900 a month in 2022 are now approaching $2,400, pricing out the very people who gave Cedar Park its energy and diversity. Teachers, service workers, retail employees. They're all being pushed out, forced to find housing in cheaper areas farther from their jobs. The result is longer commutes, more traffic, and a community that's losing its sense of identity. Local businesses are feeling the squeeze too. Commercial property taxes have spiked so dramatically that small retailers and restaurants are either closing or relocating. The shopping districts that used to feel vibrant now have empty storefronts and reduced hours. The sense of momentum that once defined Cedar Park has stalled, replaced by uncertainty and frustration. By 2026, Cedar Park has become a symbol of how property taxes can undermine even the most promising communities. The city that was supposed to be the smart alternative to Austin has instead become a financial trap. Homes are sitting on the market longer, prices are softening, and the families who believed in Cedar Park's future are packing up and searching for stability somewhere else. The exodus is quiet but steady, and every family that leaves takes a piece of Cedar Park's promise with them. Number 2. Prosper. Prosper, a fast-growing town north of Dallas, was marketed as the embodiment of Texas success. Luxurious new homes, highly rated schools, proximity to major job centers. It promised the best of suburban living. Families moved in believing they were investing in their future, planting roots in a community that would only get better. But by 2026, that belief has been shattered by property taxes that have reached levels many never imagined possible. The average homeowner in Prosper is now paying close to $13,000 per year in property taxes, and in some of the more exclusive neighborhoods, annual bills are pushing $17,000 or more. Appraisals have skyrocketed, fueled by years of rapid development and soaring home prices during the pandemic. But now that the market has cooled and home values have plateaued or even declined, homeowners are stuck with tax obligations that feel completely disconnected from reality. The financial burden is forcing families to make impossible choices. Some are downsizing, moving to smaller homes within Prosper, and hoping the lower appraisal will make the taxes more manageable. Others are leaving the town entirely, relocating to nearby communities with lower tax rates or moving out of Texas altogether. And for every family that leaves, Prosper loses a little more of the community spirit that once made it special. The town's rapid expansion is a major driver of the crisis. Prosper approved countless residential and commercial developments over the past decade, building schools, roads, and public facilities to accommodate the influx. But all of that infrastructure costs money, and in Texas, property owners are the ones paying for it. Now that growth has slowed, the tax burden is falling on fewer households, making the load unbearable for those who remain. Retirees in Prosper are being hit especially hard. Many move to the town expecting a peaceful, financially stable retirement. Instead, they're facing tax bills that consume a massive portion of their fixed incomes. Some are selling homes they love, moving to states with lower tax burdens and better protections for seniors. Others are staying but cutting back on everything else, skipping medical care, delaying home repairs, just to keep up with the taxes. The emotional and financial toll is immense. Renters in Prosper are struggling too. Landlords facing steep tax increases are raising rents to cover the gap, pushing monthly payments to levels that make no sense for a suburban town. People who moved to Prosper for affordability are now paying rents comparable to upscale Dallas neighborhoods, but without the amenities or job opportunities. The result is high turnover, unstable communities, and a growing sense that Prosper isn't worth the cost. Small businesses are closing at an alarming rate. Commercial property taxes have spiked so dramatically that local shops, gyms, and restaurants can't keep up. The retail corridors that used to feel vibrant are now dotted with vacant storefronts and going out of business signs. The town that was supposed to symbolize prosperity is instead becoming a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked growth and unsustainable taxation. By 2026, Prosper's reputation has taken a serious hit. The town that promised luxury and stability has delivered financial stress and uncertainty. Homes are sitting on the market for months, sellers are cutting prices, and the families who once believed in Prosper's future are walking away. The exodus is accelerating, and the community that was built on optimism is now defined by frustration and regret. Prosper's fall is a stark reminder that even in the wealthiest suburbs, property taxes can destroy the very foundation that made growth possible in the first place. Number 1, The Woodlands. At the top of the list sits The Woodlands, the master-planned community that was supposed to be the pinnacle of Texas living. For decades, it was marketed as a utopia. Lush greenery, world-class amenities, top-tier schools, and a quality of life that justified premium prices. Families moved there from across the country, believing they were securing not just a home, but a lifestyle. But by 2026, that lifestyle has become financially unsustainable for a growing number of residents. Property taxes in the Woodlands have reached levels that are nothing short of shocking. The average homeowner is now paying close to $15,000 per year, and in some of the more exclusive villages, annual tax bills are exceeding $20,000. To put that in perspective, that's nearly $1,700 a month just in property taxes, before mortgage, insurance, or any other living expenses. Appraisals have climbed relentlessly, driven by years of strong demand and the community's reputation for excellence. But now that the housing market has cooled, Homeowners are stuck with tax obligations that feel punitive and unsustainable. The financial strain is breaking families. Dual income households that once felt financially secure are now struggling to keep up. Single income families are being forced out entirely, and retirees, many of whom moved to the Woodlands specifically for its quality of life, are selling homes they never wanted to leave simply because they can't afford the taxes. The emotional toll is immense. These aren't just houses. They're homes where children grew up, where memories were made, where roots were supposed to be permanent. But when the tax bill becomes unmanageable, sentiment doesn't matter. The Woodlands' reputation as a luxury community is actually working against it. The very amenities that made it desirable, miles of walking trails, golf courses, parks, community centers, all require funding. And in Texas, that funding comes from property taxes. Residents are essentially paying for a lifestyle whether they use those amenities or not. And for many, the cost has stopped making sense. They're realizing they can find good schools, safe neighborhoods, and quality of life in other communities without the crushing tax burden. The exodus is real and accelerating. Homes that used to sell within days are now sitting on the market for months. Sellers are cutting prices, offering incentives, doing whatever it takes to attract buyers in a market that's lost its momentum. And the buyers who are coming in are increasingly wary, asking hard questions about future tax increases and whether the Woodlands is truly worth the premium. Renters in the Woodlands are facing impossible choices too. Landlords hit with massive tax bills are passing the cost to tenants, pushing rents to levels that rival luxury apartments in downtown Houston. But unlike downtown, the Woodlands doesn't offer the same job opportunities, nightlife, or cultural amenities. Renters are paying premium prices for a suburban lifestyle that many no longer value. The result is high turnover, declining occupancy, and a rental market that feels increasingly unstable. Small businesses are struggling as well. Commercial property taxes have spiked dramatically, forcing local retailers, restaurants, and service providers to either raise prices or shut down. The town center, once a vibrant hub of activity, now has vacancies that linger for months. The